ladies and gents. I'm so excited to be participating in a competition that is bringing awareness and support to the National Breast Cancer Foundation. Winning the Fab Over 40 competition will allow me to further my podcast in reach, notoriety, and listenership by winning the cover of New Beauty magazine, as well as a $40,000 prize that will be funneled into my passion project with Please Me Podcast with Eve. This podcast has brought me so much joy and personal healing, and I can't wait to share many more seasons with you. Thanks to all my listeners who have left reviews and supported the show. Please keep that love coming. I am so happy to say that I am now in the top 2.5% globally. And I also want to be the face of New Beauty and an advocate for breast cancer awareness, which is afflicting more and more women at a younger age than ever before. Please consider following the link in the show notes and vote for me to win. Thank you. Welcome to Please Me, the podcast bringing you bold conversations and big clit energy. I'm Eve, your host, on a journey from trauma to sexual liberation. Join me and my guests as we dive into conversations around orgasm equality, self-love, body positivity, and essential sexual education. Let's reclaim pleasure and close the orgasm gap, one empowering conversation at a time. Last week, I spoke with Annie Temple about her must-read book, How Sex Work Shaped My Life. Annie is an inspiration to all who have felt marginalized, degraded in some way, or who suffer from long-term illness. Please Me is for mature audiences. Sit back, relax, and surrender to the pleasure of Please Me.
You have to look at the kink thing as the sort of kink is the overall umbrella, and then there's two sides of it. One is traditional BDSM, which often may not involve sex at all. It may be just about power and roles and discipline. And I would say in BDSM relationships, maybe only 20% of it's actually about sex. And then the other side under the kink umbrella is fetishism, which is almost always has a sexual component. Maybe let's have sex with latex, let's have sex with leather, let's play this. It's almost always a sexual outcome.
Hello, and welcome to Please Me, the podcast that aims to destigmatize conversations about sex and sexual health by turning the sheets into our classroom. Today, I have the honor to welcome guest Max Carey to the show. He is the producer and director of a new documentary called Touch Kink. And I am so excited to have you on the show today. Welcome, Max.
And thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. I like your t-shirt, by the way.
Thank
Kinky
you very
and proud.
much.
That's off to a good. I feel good about this already.
Yes, I had to come prepared, ready for the show. And I thought I'd wear my Kinky and Proud t-shirt. And I would love to know what brought you to be interested in this subject matter.
I think I've always been kinky, even before I actually knew what that was. As a kid, I wasn't really going with the flow very much. I always wanted to travel. I had seemed to have different ideas than everyone else. And I grew up in a very small town. And frankly, as a teenager, it was a little depressing. And then I got an opportunity to go to Europe when I was 17, and I could breathe again, because what I suspected that not everyone thinks the same became proven true, and I could just breathe again. And from that, it's been this exploration of understanding what made me different, why I was not fitting in the way other people did. And I don't think I knew it was kinky so much until I read a book about the basics of what kink was and realized that I was a classic sort of dominant person that just did what they wanted to do and didn't really follow the societal norms as much, and just made sense from that term. So I got interested in the kink community from there, and a little knowledge can be a dangerous thing because I knew one aspect of it, male dom, female sub. And then when I started this documentary, my eyes were opened even more. Yeah, hope that answers the question.
Yeah, absolutely. It does. And 45% of Americans consider themselves kinky. So it's not something that is often talked about. It's considered taboo. However, many people consider themselves kinky. And I love that when you went to Europe, you felt like you can breathe because their societal norms are less, conservative, and I don't know what to call it, but
it was just different. It was just seeing different ways of living. Growing up in a small town, there was one way that you're supposed to behave, and one sort of set of rules that everybody's implicitly understood. And they seem to act like this was handed down from the universe and this is exactly what thou shalt must do and everyone else is crazy. And then when you go to Europe and you realize, no, actually they have a different set of rules. In some cases it was more restrictive, in other cases it was more open, but it was just the fact that what I suspected, that there wasn't just one set of rules, was proven true. And that's when I could start to breathe again.
I love that. And I also actually grew up for 4 years in Europe. I lived in
Mm.
Spain. And absolutely, when you travel, it just opens your mind up to just a completely different way of life, a way of thought, a different culture. And it really just expands your mind in so many different ways. And I think that kink really has the opportunity to do that as well. I would love to talk more about your documentary and the protagonist that you have in your documentary.
Sure. There's four main people that I
Okay.
focused on. People often say, "Did you start off with a certain intention?" And the truth was, it was like visiting a new country, a subculture. And I met one, which introduced me to two, which introduced me to four. And in the end, I think I interviewed something in the neighborhood of 200 people. But for the narrative structure, you tend to focus in on the stories where people had something happen. Not just, I'm fine, everything's fine, I'm great, everything's great. It's boring. You need a little bit of, hello, this is me, this happened, and then this happened, and here's how it resolved. So the four people that had stories were Mistress Eveline, who was very much a dominatrix that was wanting to spread the gospel according to kink, and very out there, a bit naive even, a new dom. And she got shot down by the tabloid press. I mean, there was a small incident with a local tennis club that sort of mushroomed way out of control. And suddenly this person who had all these great intentions became a tabloid story. So how she resolved that. Robin, young, kinky guy, submissive man who just felt it was time to tell the story from what it is to be a submissive man. He grew up in Texas, so it was like very counterculture for him. And then Grace, who was just a soccer mom that was curious. I'd met her before. I suspected that she might be interested, but she certainly didn't know anything about it. To just be a sober second look. It's after I finished the first couple acts, it started feeling like a bit of a love letter to kink. And I wanted a little bit of outside, whatever, somebody else's opinion. And so I brought her in to let her go through this process and find out how she thought about it too, from someone who was completely outside, who had admittedly thought people were damaged and there was something wrong with people that were interested in this. And this wasn't made up. This was how she felt. You have to watch the movie to find out how it turns out. And then the person that started the whole thing, January Sarath, who was the person who was instrumental in me finding these people and getting access to these people and was the real genesis of the idea. So it's those four main characters, but it also focuses in on the most important thing to me, which is this circle, which is why the big O and the touch and the people, you slap someone across the face and it's bad if you just do it without consent and do it without any kind of caring or whatever, where if you negotiate and that's something they like and you decide to do it and you do it and then you check in with them afterwards, that circle of communication is what makes it okay. The activities in themselves are not necessarily good or bad. It's the process by which we communicate with others. So I wanted to normalize it a little bit by showing the story, give you a little visit to Kinky Land, and also have the viewer understand the reason it's okay, or the reason is okay to explore is this sort of circle of communication, of consent and playing. And also, and even kinky people forget sometimes, is the aftercare, checking in afterwards and doing that. So yeah, that was the intention. And those were the main stories.
I love that. And I love that you take a non traditional approach with the femdom and having her be the dominant. And then what the male, I'm assuming that the male, and I'm sorry, I didn't get to watch the movie yet, but I'm going to, is the submissive, right? That's not what you typically think of when you think of BDSM, right? But there are many men that are submissive and there are many women that are dominant. And so giving that a stage to shine and to really open people's minds about it, because I think that in traditional relationship, having a female led relationship, or sorry, an FLR, is totally common, right? Women take the lead in a lot of things, planning events and etc. And so that's completely common, but we're talking about in the bedroom, a woman taking the lead. Can you just talk about maybe the similarities and differences between, say, a femme-dom relationship and a female-led relationship?
To answer that question, I think you have to look at the kink thing as the sort of kink is the overall umbrella. And then there's two sides of it. One is traditional BDSM, which often may not involve sex at all. It may be just about power and roles and discipline. And I would say in BDSM relationships, maybe only 20% of it's actually about sex. And then the other side under the kink umbrella is fetishism, which is almost always has a sexual component. Maybe let's have sex with latex, let's have sex with leather, let's play this. It's almost always a sexual outcome. So in femdom, I think it's heavier on the BDSM side, where it's more about discipline. Generally, dominatrixes, especially professional ones, I think 0.1% might actually have some sort of sexual, depends again on how you define sex, but
Right,
it's
right.
not classically sex.
Penetration.
It's more discipline. It's more exact by penetration. It's not penetration typically. At least not, she's not getting it. He might. Anyway,
Depending on how you define sex.
exactly. And then on the fetishism side, it's more different. So female-led relationship, I think, can bleed over on both sides of that a little bit, where it's a little bit fetishy, a little bit more sexual, can also dance over to the BDSM side and goes back and forth. Where femdom is typically much more strict, much more structured. The analogy I was often given is, would you want to have sex with your God anyway? It would spoil it almost. You want that to be someone that you worship and look up to. You don't. So it's very much about discipline and very much about domination. So femdom is more traditionally BDSM. Female-led is all over the place, depending on what you want to create for yourself.
Right.
Obviously,
And it
with
could
women in
just
charge.
be a vanilla relationship that's female led too. And that
Right.
is, like I said, exists in the world all over the place. Think about who's the one planning everything, who's the one that's really
Mhm.
taking the initiative
Right.
on pretty much everything. A lot of times women do take that role. Um,
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, and it even gets even more fun because I often try and take gender out of the equation. There's feminine energy, there's masculine energy, but biologically, who knows what's going on with either of these people? But there's a feminine kind of energy, which has a certain sort of style and a certain sort of qualities that we can think of feminine energy. It's beauty, it's power, it has a sort of classicness to it. We think of masculine energy as a little more tough, a little bit more this. So it's a feminine, either one of those is still feminine energy, whether the people are biologically female doesn't actually matter.
Absolutely. And I just recently learned of the term gynosexual, meaning that you're attracted to feminine energy, whether it be from a man, from a woman, from a trans person, or anybody under the rainbow. And so I love that concept because I've always considered myself a lover of the female form and beauty.
Mhm.
And so when I read about that particular, there's so many categories now, but when I heard that, I was like, oh, wow, that's me. And so I thought it was a cool reference and something that I could say, yes, I am
Absolutely.
definitely attracted to the female energy and form and beauty. And I can see that and appreciate it in other people. How do you think dating kinky can improve people's connection?
Oh, it's 1,000 times better than dating non-kinky. Simply because if you follow the rules and you're doing it right. And rule number one is, hi, my name is, and I like X, Y, and Z. Let's not mess about with me, try to pretend otherwise. I'm as open and honest as I potentially can be, warts and all. And we connect, as opposed to waiting to the third date to find out that you're into X, Y, Z and the other person runs in absolute fear or not. It's a big surprise. I think you take the word kink out of this, take the word BDSM out of it. Doesn't it make sense to be just really open and honest with someone that you're attracted to? Why do you want to waste time by being dishonest with this person? Who do you think that's really going to benefit? It's certainly not going to benefit you in the long term. So just in kink, it's very much normal to open up about things that may or may not be quote unquote common in the vanilla world or the mainstream world. So that's just wonderful to have that. And then the process by building that consent and building that. One of the tenets I'm sure you're familiar with is there's a very common expression. Your kink may not be my kink, but that's okay. And not to shame people. Also, if someone finally's worked up the energy to tell you that they love your feet or something like that, you don't want to go, oh, you freak. You just want to say, it's not really my thing, but I appreciate you sharing. We should have that in all things, all relationships. So vanilla is so fraught with danger. There used to be, I think, rules, some sort of basic rules on what was supposed to happen. But I think now, and kink is designed to reinvent every situation. So I think it's a thousand times better to date with the kinky principles, if not kink. And that is we're going to be super honest here. We're not going to bullshit each other. We're just going to tell the truth here about us and see if we jive or not. Heck, you might have that conversation. That person goes, not my thing, but you know who you need to talk to. So you just can't lose by being honest.
Absolutely. Honesty and communication is so key. And I think that we can all learn from the kink world and the LGBTQ world, right? Plus world, because they are having these conversations about likes and dislikes very early on. And oftentimes in typical heterosexual relationships, you don't really get to have those conversations. You just assume that the other person is going to automatically know what you like and don't like. And that is ridiculous. And so there exists a very large orgasm gap, which one of my goals is to close for people one person at a time through education and through empowerment. Because if you don't know, you're not going to improve your life. And the kink community does it so well. You're absolutely right. They're talking about what their likes are, what their dislikes are. They're talking about consent and safe words and hard limits and soft limits. And those things don't necessarily or often don't come up at all in typical heterosexual relationships. And they do
Absolutely.
in the kink relationships and also in the LGBTQ relationships. So we can really be learning a lot from those types of relationships.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've done a number of film festivals and I get up in front of a bunch of people and they ask questions from the audience. And one of the questions that comes up quite a bit is all this talking, it doesn't seem a little bit boring. It seems difficult. It takes the fun out of it. And I'm like, no, dude, you don't understand because you don't understand because you may in your mind be wanting to just penetrate or sex. Okay. I'm hoping to get laid today. And you say, this is my thing. And the person may say, I'm not really into that, but I like X, Y, and Z. And the guy says, what is X, Y, and Z? Can you tell me more about? Oh, okay, I'll try X, Y, and Z. So by being open, you may not get initially what you're looking for in that moment, but if you're open and honest, you might find out about a whole bunch of things. And you might get to try a whole bunch of new things. And heck, you might end up getting what you originally looked for anyway in the beginning. But if you are so focused on one thing and you're not willing to have the conversations and try and find common interests, and assuming you really like this person and you wanted to spend time with this person, you're just going to dismiss this person just because of that, rather than look for another way or build some connection, build some intimacy, you're losing out. So not only is it not boring, it opens up doors to places that you may not have even known about. And you may discover things that just change you as a person. It's super exciting to actually have those open and honest conversations and be willing to get no on one thing, but continue the conversation. What do you like? What would you like to do with me? What do you feel comfortable with? Maybe we're just going to hang out and have a beer and go find people together. If we both like girls, we'll go tag team, like whatever. But there's always something if you keep talking and assuming you've gone to the trouble of meeting this person, having dinner or conversation, you must like this person on some level. So don't give up so easily. Try and find that common space and find those new things that you might get all excited about.
I agree. And I think a lot of times people are easy to dismiss and not want to try things. Try it once, try it twice, and see if it's something that you would be interested in. And if someone says to you, like you've mentioned before, oh, I really love your feet, instead of saying, oh, you freak, you could turn around and say, I love a good foot massage. And if nothing else, you could get an amazing foot massage out of the deal. So instead of discounting people, really just trying to open your mind and be open-minded. And I think that is a beautiful thing because that is how we explore and grow. And if you're not exploring and growing in your sex life, I think you're missing out because things can become routine and rote. And if you're not talking about how to expand and trying to make things better, make things spicier, you're really going to miss out on a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so much is not what you expect as well. A classic example of that is spanking. Everyone thinks that's all about pain. If you go low with the right vibration, that can be orgasmic. You can actually make someone come with a spanking. Really? Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, just because you think it sounds like, oh, I'm going to be punished. Actually, maybe not. maybe it's a whole new sensation. So being open to exploring these things within a sort of the confines of whatever you consented to is great. And you, again, the thing I always try and push home is aftercare. Once you do it, it's like, how was that for you, by the way? Would you like harder, softer? Yeah, I don't think I need to do that. Or, oh my God, can we do it again? You don't know until you would check in afterwards and see how the experiment went. And more often than not, I think it usually goes pretty well.
I think aftercare is another one of those concepts that we could all learn from, because a lot of times it's an afterthought. It's not actually aftercare. And everybody needs aftercare, not just the sub, but also the dom. And really discussing that ahead of time and figuring out what that is for each person. For me, I love to snuggle afterwards. And I think it's always fun to chit chat and to have some water. And I always bring my partner a hot towel. And I like to also provide care too, and not just receive it. So you have to be willing to give and take, but it just makes the whole experience so much better.
Absolutely. And that discussion of aftercare should start right at the beginning of the negotiations. Like if you agreed to do a spanking session or whatever. And before we actually get into it, what does aftercare look like for you for that? Maybe because it's spanking, aloe vera is appropriate. I don't know. But that works into it right from the beginning. So what does that look like for you? It is. It's super important. And again, sometimes I think the word kink and BDSM, so I should take it out of it's just good things to do with fellow humans. Have good conversations, fellow humans, try and take care of each other, fellow humans, do things responsibly, fellow humans, be open-minded, experiment, fellow humans. It's just the right thing to do.
Because
and I think
you're
it's
right.
the way forward.
Kink and BDSM makes people afraid. And why do you think that is?
It's labels. Labels are always useful to get you to the corner of Main Street and Second. But once you're at Main Street and Second, have a look around and see what else is going on. People love them and hate them. I get the reason people find their territory. They want to define it. They want to come up with their words. Even within the kink community, I was amazed how fractured it is into the next generation thinks differently. The Spankos think differently than the old school leather, the new school leather, and the queer leather, and everybody's got, and they all think that they have the thing and they're doing it right, and everybody else is doing it wrong. And it's labeling. It's all this kind of labeling, and they get too serious about it. I try to back up from that whole thing, and metaphorically, at least in my documentary, I try to focus simply on red, green, and blue. Red is focus, what we like, when we like it, what turns us on. Green is who we are, how in that moment or that thing. Blue is what we're looking for, what sensation. That's it. Get rid of everything else. I'm looking at your feet. I'm being dominant, I'm being submissive, and I'm hoping to get an orgasm, or I'm just hoping to feel happy or whatever. That's it. Don't put anything more on it than that. And then if you start doing this sort of RGB thing on every kink, it works for every kink. But if you get in the minutia of labeling this and labeling that, who knows that you have the same definition as labels anyway. Just be honest and see it as natural. We like what we like. We feel who we are in that moment, and we want to have whatever sensation we want to have. It's that simple. Put everything else away.
Yes,
like people
definitely.
jumping out of airplane. Why do they call that? Why is that not a kink, actually? Well, they say they have a fetish for risking their lives in an airplane. They see themselves as brave adventurers, and they love the adrenaline rush. It's a kink.
I would have to agree with you on that. And that's a kink that I definitely don't want to explore, but there are many that I do. And people are afraid of what they don't know. But until you've tried it, don't knock it. Taylor Sparks has been my guest on Please Me twice. And during our last show, we created a curated store of my very favorite sex toys, lubes, and sexy accoutrements. These all-natural products are not only game changers to add some spice to the bedroom, but also safe to use on all your sensitive bits. Remember, lube is for everyone, and sex toys are to be enjoyed solo or with a partner. So don't be shy and go treat yourself to a new fun and sexy toy or two. See the show notes for the link to the store. I would love to do a role play with you. And in season 4, we're going to be doing role plays in the show. And so I would love to do a role play with you around safe sex. And maybe, how about, since you mentioned I like your feet, why don't we do a role play around that?
Okay.
Okay. And we are meeting at,
A munch.
let's just say, where?
A munch. like a kinky meetup, a munch, like a meetup of kinky people.
Okay, we're meeting up at a munch. Okay, so we're both potentially kinky people, right? Okay, so let's
Or is it
go
better
ahead.
that we do this at a sports bar?
Yeah, let's do it at a sports bar because you don't really know. Sometimes
Okay,
people at
sure.
sports bars are kinky and sometimes they're not. So we're meeting
Absolutely.
up at a sports bar and I hate sports. So I won't be watching the TV, but you go right ahead.
Okay. So I'm trying to pick you up and I'm trying to get an opportunity to massage your feet or something,
Or you can
or
just tell
vice
me what you
versa.
like. You like that, and we'll just go from there.
Okay. All right. Okay. Ready? Roll camera. Action.
Yep.
Hi. Hello. How are you doing?
Hi, how are you? I'm great. Thanks. How are you today?
Good. Just chilling a little bit here. I thought it might be fun to have a little conversation if you're open to, you got the time and space, or we're connected a little bit, or not connected, but just like you feel comfortable having a conversation. Would you like to have a little chat?
I'd love
No,
to
no
if you want to have
pressure.
a
Just kind of
mojito.
like, oh yeah, that's right. We are at a sports bar. I'm happy to get you a mojito. Wait,
Thank
two
you.
mojitos, please.
Fantastic.
So,
So what
well,
brings you here
it's
today?
real time. They gotta take that time to enjoy your mojito a little bit. But what brings me here today? I'm actually just relaxing. Finished a big project, and now I'm just taking a little bit of a break, a little bit of breathing time, and figuring out the next steps in this little adventure of mine. What
Fantastic.
about you?
And
What about yourself? What brought you here today?
I am here watching the Olympics because those are sports that I do watch. So we're going back a few months, but that's okay. We're just pretending, right? So I'm here watching the Olympics and just enjoying some chicken wings.
Okay, cool. What sport are we watching?
I love gymnastics. So definitely
Gymnastics.
cheering on the gymnasts and Team USA.
I'm always impressed by the gymnasts. It's just, it seems superhuman. You see these people jumping and moving in ways that seem beyond what normal people can do. I'm always fascinated, and I hear the kind of work, the kind of discipline, and the kind of training that goes into that. Did you do gymnast type stuff when you were younger, or do you do it now?
I actually was a gymnast as a child and that sort of segued into dance and I studied many forms of dance over the years, especially ethnic dances such as African dance and samba, Latin dances like salsa and merengue, that sort of thing. So I love to dance.
Wow, that explains why your feet have such great arches. You definitely have like dancer feet.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, some dancer feet can be really atrocious because they get squeezed into shoes and that sort of thing. And I often do have foot pain, but it's worth it because dancing is just life.
Yeah, of course. I was going to say, I think they say like dancers generally will have more of an arch because of the dancing, whereas like most of us have fairly flat feet because of we're not springing off and jumping and doing crazy things all the time. We don't seem to have the same development. I don't know how that works. If that's like the dancing creates that, or you're just more sort of able to dance because of the shape of your feet. Did they ever talk about how feet make you better or worse dancers? Is that something you learned about at all?
If you have, I'm a physical therapist, so
Mm-hmm.
feet are definitely something that I treat a lot in my practice. And genetically, you can just have flat feet. But if you have too flat of feet, that will affect your dancing. You do have to have some form of arch, or it does help. So, definitely having an arch is something that ballet dancers, especially, to have because of the spring in their feet. Absolutely.
Sure, sure. I get that. I'm a bit like Tarantino. He's also a big foot guy. I've always got a little bit of a thing for feet. I think that they're sort of
Ah,
beautiful, beautiful elements. So many people are like fixated on one aspect or another, but I've always thought there's something about feet that just is particularly interesting.
okay.
Does that
It sounds
shock
like
you? Did I
it's a
shock you?
it's not shocking. It's actually piquing my interest because I definitely love my feet be paid attention to. Is that something that you like to do?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's actually a lot of fun for me to sit back and just, or have you sit back actually, and especially if you've done some dancing or gymnastics of late, just rub those feet for you and help you get into a relaxed state of mind.
Yes. Yes. And
I'm
yes.
told I have good technique. I'm
You
getting into it. I've
okay?
been told. I've been getting
And
into it more and more. It's more of an interest of late.
okay, so you've been studying a little massage technique to make sure that your foot game is right on par.
Yeah, I remember when I was younger, I'd always had a little bit of an attraction towards feet, and the more I got into it, the more I wanted to learn about it. I don't know if you'd heard of this thing called the kink community, where people definitely have meetings about these things, and I found it really interesting to find this whole community of people that were more into it. They liked getting or giving, and they get into almost like gymnasts or dance. It's like different kinds and different styles, and it's a fascinating little subculture. And I've been exploring it myself a little bit. So, have you ever explored any of the kinky side of things?
I do consider myself kinky as my shirt
Oh, you're wearing that in the
says
bar?
about it. So absolutely, I absolutely love my feet to be paid attention to. So that's something that I have explored and would love to explore more.
Well, I think we should do that. Maybe we'll have one more drink and keep talking. For me, it's like also, I want you to feel comfortable and I want to feel comfortable. And there's no like rush to any of this stuff. It's just, let's get to know each other a little bit and figure out what we like. And maybe we can go for a foot massage or something, or I'll give you a foot massage or something sooner rather than later, maybe. Yeah.
That sounds lovely. I have to say, you're absolutely right. And one thing, too, and I'm just going to end the role play right there. And thank you so much for being willing to do that. And I have to say that you're absolutely right in that sometimes you're at a bar or wherever you are and you're trying to meet somebody and trying to pick somebody up, but there's never a hurry. You don't always have to jump into, let's do it right now. Let's talk about
Mhm.
when we can meet and what you'd like to do and all of those things, because it never is a hurry and we should never feel pressured to move things forward when you're not comfortable or not ready.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And it's important, I think, to establish a human connection first, no matter what you do. Make sure that person's comfortable with you. That's always the first job. It's fine to bring in your interests. I think you should bring those in sooner rather than later, but you still have to do the other human stuff of just making that person feel comfortable. And I always say it's not that hard. Just don't be a dick. Just don't be a dick. Just don't go in and push too hard and be a little too obsessed. It's fine to be honest, but at the same time, take your time. So yeah.
Absolutely. And that was a lot of
Unless you're at a
fun.
foot party, then it's maybe 2 minutes later.
You can always like lean back and put your foot on the bar and be like, here you go ahead and massage my foot, right?
I would leave that to you to do. If you did that, then I'm sure that you let the other
Let me
person
check out your
make those
techniques
kind
first before we move forward here.
exactly. Then that's something you can say. I'm certainly not gonna, wouldn't certainly grab your feet without,
No, not at all. You would
consent.
need consent for that. And that's what we're
Yeah.
talking about. Enthusiastic consent, which is so
Mhm.
key in the kink
Absolutely.
community and really should be in every community, because we all should be consenting to any kind of activity, sensual, sexual, and
Mhm.
everything in between. So I like to recommend SDC.com as a dating site. And I
Mhm.
know that you also are familiar with SDC.com.
Mhm.
Is there another dating site that you would recommend for kinky?
Nose dating, no. I think is on the nose. That's a great place to go. My approach generally would be being on something like a FetLife and getting building portfolio and just going to events, going to munches. If you're interested in one thing or another, go to those events and meet and talk to people that are interested though in those kinds of activities. I always think it's a good place to start generally. Or yeah, of course, something like an SDC would be more on the nose. They actually licensed my film, so it'll be available on that in a few months as well. So watch the film on their website at some point as well.
That's awesome. And I have my podcasts on SDC.com and I do monthly free webinars on SDC.com. So it's a
Oh,
really
cool.
great place for education as well as a very international dating site. So I think it's a really great place to find fellow kinksters if that's something that you're interested in looking into. And that code that I just popped up will give you a free trial membership. So check it out. I want to make sure that my listeners can find you. Where can they find you?
touchkink.com, nameofthefilm.com. You can easily go there. You can watch the trailer of the movie, learn a little bit more about it. If you're interested, sign up for my newsletter and you'll get information about when the film will be shown in your area, as well as I'm working on a new television series about modern love about various other aspects of relationships, more detailed, kink specific or focus specific on each episode. So if you'd like to know more about that, also drop your name in the newsletter. That's the biggest reason I'm here, is to promote, let people know about my independent film, Touch Kink, and let them see the trailer, and also build more connections in the community for my new TV series.
Fantastic. And you mentioned modern love, and I just want to know your take on where you think modern love is going.
I think it's being more specific. It's being more honest, more direct, and making less assumptions. I'm not going to assume because you look like an all-American girl that you're going to be straight, or you're going to be submissive, or you're going to be anything. I'm going to start with nothing and just say, hi, so who are you? What do you like? Or just not make any assumptions, and then let you tell me who you are, and vice versa. So I think modern love is really just about getting rid of all the baggage of these sort of preconceived ideas and asking, being open and honest, and being in a position. I think we're seeing this seep into the media now, where more and more kink subjects are leaking in here and there, and that really helps build the conversations. I remember watching the show Industry on HBO. In the last couple episodes, somebody had a bit of a water sports thing, and I was like, oh, I'm surprised they're putting that on HBO. But one of those things would be like, oh, did you see that thing on HBO where the guy had a bit of a thing for water sports? Is that something, having those cultural touchstones to normalize and realize our diversity? It's when we were doing our little role play about foot fetish, why I ended up bringing up Tarantino, because he's a very open, established foot fetishist. So it's, oh, Tarantino, I love his movies. Oh, he likes feet. Okay, that's cool. It gives you those cultural touchstones. So I think modern love is about realizing that there's no boxes. It's all fluid. It's all spectrums, and we can make our own life. And we have to start with, hello, my name is, and tell me about yourself, and get to know each other and find out what works for us, as opposed to what works for everybody,
Absolutely. And I feel the relationship world is changing so much. 50, 70 years ago, 70% of the population, the adult population, was married, and now it's only in the 40s. Our relationships are really changing. And so I think that your show will have a great place in the world in terms of us really listening, learning, and seeing something new. And you're right. We're seeing ethical non-monogamy, we're seeing polyamory, we're seeing threesomes and more sums in the general storylines now, which I think is really important to expand people's minds some, because that's all it really is, just opening your mind up to try something new and to expand your mind, and to not be closed-minded about things that you might have thought were not something that you would be interested in before, but really opening your mind and saying, why wouldn't I love a good foot massage all the time?
Absolutely. I think it's also about finding your community. I think one of the things that's hard for people in the beginning is, most people don't like rejection of any kind. So they feel like I'm about to say I'm into feet or whatever. And you're terrified. You're genuinely terrified of wondering what this reaction is going to be, and to realize that even if it isn't a great reaction, there is a world out there. There is a community out there that might react differently, and don't take it so darn personal. Now, I get it. We're humans. We're fragile. We're this, we're that. And it's hard. It's easy to say that. Not so easy to actually do it. And piece of advice I always give people is, you have to just be casual about it and just bring it up as early as appropriate to get it out there, just so it's out there. And you don't have to be sitting there for half an hour. Should I try and insert into the conversation now? Should I try and insert into the conversation? The moment we went, you talked about dance. There was my direct in, didn't seem weird at all, straight to feet. You find that, get that in as early as possible, because the longer you wait, the less likely you're going to say anything, and
Absolutely. And let's not waste our time. If it's something that you like, let's put it right on the table at the beginning, because that person may say yes and they may say no, but you won't have wasted your time. And I think that's a really good point. So I just want to thank you so much for being on the show today. This has been a great conversation.
Thank you for having me. Very much appreciate your time and your opportunity to have a little chat, and good luck with the future episodes. I'll be tuning in.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And if you guys out there are listening and love this episode, make sure that you take your phone and put it in your hand right now and share it with somebody. Copy and paste and share it to somebody that you think might really be interested in this particular episode, because the more we share, the more the podcast grows. And I definitely appreciate that. This is season 4 now, and I am in the top 3% globally, which I'm happy to say. This week we were at number 5 in the USA in the sexuality category. So the podcast is growing by leaps and bounds. And so I am so thankful to all my listeners for listening in and being open-minded about all of the crazy things that I love to talk about and really destigmatizing these conversations, because kink is everywhere. It really is. And if you like my t-shirt, make sure that you check out my website, pleaseme.online, and I'll pop it up here too. There's so many lovely things on my website besides my free webinars. All of my podcasts are there, some fun t-shirts, and I have a beautiful curated list or store of kinky products that you can definitely go get, and check the store out there too. I think that's all for today. Until next time, are you looking for a sexy date? Look no further than SDC.com. SDC.com is the premier ethically non-monogamous website that is worldwide. It also hosts a wealth of information on sexuality and sexual health, and I host a free live webinar monthly on the site. You can use code 37340 for a free trial membership on me, and be sure to reach out on the site and say hello.